What in the world is happening with King County real estate? We got to check this out. It is pretty damn exciting. So we're going to wrap up 2021 and look at what's that portends for 2022. I don't know why I did this for portends. Portends is a real word. Actually mean portends. But anyway, let's look. So we got the last 3 years here, 19, 20, 21. Green is the supply. Blue is the demand. Supply and demand, not just a good idea. It's the law. My favorite joke of these updates. Anyway, all right. So a couple things you can see is that last year, 2021, never got to where 2019 was. If you were one of my clients in 2019, you remember trying to sell in 2019. Couldn't get what you asked for it during the summer. It was sort of a prime time to be a buyer in our market. The last time it was any decent space to be a buyer was 2019. In the summer, you can see how far inventory, new listings outpaced demand. That was a lot more new listings than were sold that month. As you move further to the right, you can begin to see that inventory through the pandemic has dropped off dramatically. And last year, 2021 was just about the same as 2020, a little bit more over the summer, but you can see the demand was up considerably, especially the last 3 months of 2021, October, November, December. Last 3 months of 2021, demand outpaced supply by a long shot, right? Which makes it, it's predictable. If you look at the green, the supply, the end of the year always goes down at the end of the year. And we don't normally see it go back up until the spring. I don't anticipate anything different this year in terms of that trend. In other words, January, February, March, April begins the increase in supply. So if you're looking to buy, you're best to wait, or not necessarily wait, but you can't expect any kind of market for you until the spring. Okay. There's not a chance of it being any different for you until then. If you're selling, I'd get it sold now. I'd get to the market right now. Why? Because even in the winter months last year, supply was really close to demand, and it really didn't back off until the summer months. There you get a decent gap. There you get a decent gap. There you get a decent gap. So if you're talking about, I'm going to wait till the spring to list, you got to explain to me why you think the law of supply and demand doesn't apply to you. Okay. Because really, if you're going to list, you should list now before everyone else does. And that would be this January, February timeframe. But you can see it spikes up in March. You can see here, January, there's February. We're right up, right? This is the beginning of the pandemic, so it's a little bit different. But January, February, March, whoop, all the way up. April, whoop. So you definitely don't want to wait that long if you can avoid it. And if you're going to buy, maybe we hit something like this in 2022. Maybe we get a huge increase in supply. I don't anticipate, the other thing that could happen is that demand could go away with a rising interest rate prediction. The Fed says they're going to raise interest rate, could curb demand. I don't see a scenario where the price goes down. Here's just the Seattle market. And if you wanted to get this, you can get this update for any market in the country. You would just hit subscribe, and you could hit create any market update in the country you wanted, which is sort of useful. So the link to this is in the chat, is in the notes. But you can see this is a strong seller's market, stronger in December than it was in November. You could see that by the chart. Not a surprise. The thing that's interesting here is it's not so much as of interest, but notice in 2019, prices were pretty flat. 2020, they went up a little bit. That's a little bit of a bump, but nothing like the increase that happened in 2021 of median price. You're at a $900,000, $875,000 median price in the Seattle market. That's as high as it's ever been. Now, I know there are people that say, "Oh, what goes up must come down." And in general, I think the law of gravity is a good thing, and what goes up must in fact come down. But when and what makes it come down? Those are the questions you got to ask. If you think the market is all of a sudden going to get back to 2019 numbers, you need to explain to me what market forces make that happen. And if there are market forces that make that happen, aren't those market forces also ones that would greatly decrease your buying power? Like maybe the whole thing hits the fan. Okay, the whole thing hits the fan and the market collapses. You can't buy then anyway. Really, honestly, the best time to buy is today, given interest rates are so low. And if you can afford the payment for the house, it doesn't matter if the market tanks. If you can afford the payment, you're fine. So don't overextend yourself, but don't count on market prices coming back down anytime soon. I don't see what makes that happen. I don't know what combination of things make it happen that doesn't make it impossible for you to buy as well. That's my point. I mean, there could be things that happen, but I don't know what happens that makes it okay for you to be able to buy. So if you want to keep an eye on your local markets, you can change this graph to be any city in the country. Knock yourself out, subscribe yourself. If you have questions, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Subscribe to this newsletter, to my YouTube channel. Ask me any questions you got. Love to help you because every situation is unique. I said, don't sell later. Well, maybe your situation is best served by selling later. I don't know. We need to take a look. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon, Christine and Company over at eXp Realty. What in the world is happening with Kitsap County, Bainbridge, Bremerton, the whole area, Poulsbo? What is going on with inventory and housing? Let's check it out. It's pretty interesting. This is the last 3 years. We're going to wrap up 2021, predict 2022 for Kitsap County, and then we'll look at the 3 areas separately. Couple things, just right off the top. This green is the supply, blue is the demand. You can see we ended 2021 in a very high demand, very low inventory market. The last 3 months, demand outstripped inventory by a good ways, right? Very tight market over the last quarter of last year. Very difficult for buyers, very easy for sellers. You can also see there's a seasonal tendency for inventory to come to market. More market in the spring. Here's your January. Where's January, February, March, April, May, June. Woo, look at that. Inventory goes right up. Last year wasn't bad in the spring for inventory relative to demand. It was fairly easy in Kitsap overall, especially when you compare it to the pandemic year or even years past. It's very similar to 2019, which is really one of the only counties where that is the case. So does the spring offer some opportunity for buyers? It could if it copies last year, and with interest rates talking about going up, that could cap prices because as interest rates go up, buyers' ability to buy goes down. So you could see a capping of prices, may be capped based on interest rates going up. In the meantime, the current reality is last year ended very, very, very strong. You could predict that there's going to be more inventory coming on the market in general come the spring. So if you're looking to sell, I would do it now before the rest of the supply comes on. I don't know why you would wait. If you're looking to buy, you're going to have the best luck in April, May, June. Predictably in Kitsap, but no one buys in Kitsap. They buy in either Bremerton, Poulsbo, Bainbridge, something like that. So if you look at the 3 markets individually, and if you want one of these graphs yourself, one of these market updates yourself, you can click here and never miss an update. Just get yourself with the cities that you want. They're free. You can track as many cities of the country, all over the country that you want. The link is in the summary notes. But here you go. You can see that it's a seller's market in Bremerton. Median price ended at $535 for the year, but overall up for the year and certainly greatly up over the last 2 years in Bremerton. So super strong seller's market and getting stronger in Bremerton. Poulsbo, same story, just about the same as last year, but median prices is $662, and you can tell pretty strong graph up. This is, towards the end of 2020, but 2021 was pretty much nice, steady graph up. And on Bainbridge, It's the only market that I've seen where it's slightly less of a seller's market. So what does that mean? It means it's just an inch less than it was last month. Probably a couple more houses came on the market. You're looking at a median price over the last 90 days of $3 million. I wouldn't get too wrapped up in that just because it's a 90-day segment. So if very few houses sold, it skews the entire deal. If you just look at the market action, that there's really has been fairly steady at a peak on Bainbridge. And I think that's what you can count on Bainbridge, is that things are going to stay tight all over Kitsap County, wherever you're buying. And it's going to be difficult until the spring, where it might just be very hard. It's going to go from difficult to very hard. And selling is going to go from ridiculously easy right now to, who knows, maybe a little bit, slightly challenging in the spring, but it just means you're not going to get as many offers. You're going to go from 17 offers to 6 offers, that kind of thing. So let me know your situation, because everyone's is different. Like I said, no one shops Kitsap. They shop in an area. Let me know, because we can do a market analysis for your neighborhood, for your block, for your housing size, for your prices, blah, blah, blah. Let me know what you need. That's what I'm here for. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. Peace out. See you next time. What in the world is happening with Pierce County real estate? Let's take a look, because this is the 2021 recap, 2022 forecast for the greater Tacoma Pierce County area. Check it out, people. You're looking at the last 3 years supply and demand over in Pierce County. The green is the supply, the blue is the demand. How you doing? You can notice a couple of things right away. Like to look at 2019 was the last time there was any decent amount of inventory for any length of time, over 2,000 units in the spring of 2019. Since then, barely getting over 17, and just barely, only a couple of times. So the price increase is really a function of decreased supply and a little bit stronger demand, but not radically stronger. It's not really demand is steady while supply is decreasing, is going to jack up prices. Couple things about the end of last year. You can see that demand greatly outstripped supply the last 2 months, matched it in October, then outstripped it November, December. Maybe that was driven by the threats of interest rates going up. Could be. Who knows what drives buyers, but that's certainly something that could. But basically what you're looking at is a seasonal decrease in inventory that happens every year. If you notice, towards the end of every year, inventory goes down and then starts to go up in January, February, March, or January, February. This is the beginning of the pandemic. Doesn't really count. January, February, March, April. See, it goes up. So if you're looking to buy, spring, you should wait January, February, March, April, May. In there you have the best shot at seeing a gap between supply and demand. Okay. Which means if you're looking to sell, I don't know why you would wait to the spring. You're going to see a gap in supply and demand. While the buyers will go up, the supply is going to go up to match it, or at least come close predictably. Now, is that really going to happen? I don't know, but that would be predictable that supply would go up, outstrip demand in the spring, at least for a couple of months. If you look at Tacoma specifically, there's a cool little service. If you want, you can get an update in the Tacoma market just by clicking that button, and you can actually get any market in the U.S. by clicking that button and subscribing. The link to that is in the comments. A couple of things you can see: a super strong seller's market, even stronger than last month. That inventory has gone down. Rents are going up. So if you're looking to continue to rent, it's getting less and less profitable, or less and less affordable to rent. And with interest rates still at record lows, is really probably the best time to buy. Now, you may take you a while to find the right place, but it's unlikely to get better anytime soon for buyers. There's just no reason to see this trend to reverse. What would force prices down would either be a massive increase in inventory, or a massive decrease in demand. And what makes that happen? I don't know what market forces make that happen. Okay, the increase in demand, it could slow down. Demand could slow down if interest rates actually do go up. That would be one reason. you could see prices leveling off, not increasing at the rate that they have been. But in either of those scenarios, I don't see what would make it more affordable for you to wait to buy. And I certainly don't see why it makes sense to wait to sell, given there's going to be more people selling in the spring. So either way, I would make the plans to get off the fence and get moving in the housing market. If you were looking to make a move, I would do it sooner rather than later. That's the information that I see. That's the information I have. Feel free to subscribe and check out any of the other updates. Obviously, I do these every month, so you can see every month with the different markets. Let me know what questions you have, because every situation is unique. That's what I'm here for, help everybody in their situation. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company over EXP. Peace out. See you next time. Bye. What in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Let's check it out. Here's a wrap of 2021. Forecast for 2022. It is crazy on Vashon. This is, if you watch the other updates, you can see this is super unique in its in the way it's running. Okay. This is the last 3 years, supply and demand. Green is the supply, blue is the demand. The number of listings that went off the market any given month. You can see just over the last 3 years, just a massive decrease in inventory. You know, where have all the houses gone? Nowhere. They're not. You can't find a house on Vashon, and the demand is as high as it is ever. Right, in any December, that's as high as it gets, and it's greatly outstripping supply. So every single month, there's more people buying than there are houses available, except for 1, 2, 3 months last year. That's right. 9 of the 12 months, there were more people buying than there were people coming to market with their houses. Everything gets snapped up as soon as it comes to market. Okay. Anything that's on the market, reasonably priced, moves with multiple offers, because there's just too much demand. Now, a couple things that are interesting about the Vashon market in particular is there's really no way for us to increase inventory at any significant, meaningful level. I mean, the population is going to age out, so that's one way to increase inventory. Nice way to say people die and move, but it's going to age out. It's an older population, but there's really no way to build on Vashon, so there's not a lot of opportunity. So if you're waiting for prices to come back on Vashon, I don't know what you're thinking is going to happen that's going to make prices come back. They're just not. You can lament about that. You can bitch about that. And in fact, if you're on Facebook on the Vashon pages, you know, there are people that both lament and bitch about that. But there's really nothing to be done about that. It's not necessarily, a fault situation. There's just no way to make more inventory. People need to sell their existing houses, and it would have to be a very less attractive place to live than it is. And frankly, as someone who lives on Vashon, I like it as an attractive place to live. I like living here. I'm attracted to living here. So, there were times in 2019 pre-pandemic when there was more inventory than there were people demand, and maybe a whole bunch of people that are renting now, let's say, decide to sell their property. Great. They can do that. And that would increase supply. Supply is predictably going to go up every January, even in the pandemic, right? So if you're looking to buy, you're going to have predictably more opportunities come February, March, April, May. There'll be more opportunities for you to buy. Will it look like early pandemic where there were many more houses than there was demand? Or is it going to look more like last year where demand was just tagging right along with supply? Has yet to be seen. We shall see which way that one goes. If you're looking to sell, I don't know why you would risk it. Both interest rates going up and the predictability of more inventory in the spring both point to I would come to market sooner rather than later. I see zero advantage in waiting till the springtime. And if you're buying, I would get in before interest rates went up and your buying power went down. Let's look at the Vashon individual market. And if you're interested in an update like this, you want to keep it in your inbox on a regular basis, you can click that link. You can set this up for any city in the US. The link to this is in the notes. One thing about this is, given the limited amount of inventory, the limited amount of sales, is median list price is a little bit wonky because it's the last 90 days. And so it goes up and it goes down depending on which house sold. So if a very expensive house sells on Vashon, given the limited amount of data, limited amount of inventory, it greatly skews the chart. But nevertheless, you know that prices have never been higher or keep going up because demand has never been higher relative to relative to supply. So what you can predict out of this is the housing market is going to be similar to last year. I mean, prices will probably level off as interest rates go up, but unless there's some massive drop in demand, we already know on Vashon there's going to be very difficult to increase supply in a meaningful way, likely to be very difficult for buyers and very easy for sellers for the foreseeable future on Vashon. If you have questions about your specific situation or things that you want to know more about or how we can find you something, that's what I'm here for. Let me know. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at EXP. Talk to you soon.